Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to part 5 of the live reading of Al-Kayfiyah. Sorry I've been absent. I've been working a whole lot. I'm owner operator of a landscape company here in Cincinnati, and this is the season for us, so it's very hectic. Before we get started, support young black scholarship in Islam. Share this, like, drop a comment, get your algorithm going, get our algorithms going in the right direction. We laugh at funny videos. We watch, we even watch inappropriate stuff, and we share it. We like it. We subscribe to it. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you are a part of the Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah community, like this, share this, and if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. This is an honest effort. I do this on my own free time for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so that we can all be one and united in our aqidah and our belief. We're definitely going to have differences or whatnot, but our differences need to be in the bounds of differences, inshallah ta'ala. So just to give a quick Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, it's a quick little recap because I have been MIA for 10 days or something like that. The last part of this book, first and foremost, is about the differences between Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The book is actually called How to Debate the Salafiyyah / Wahhabiyyah. But I want to kind of, just with my own presentation, give just twist that just a little bit so that we can be more welcoming. So a lot of brothers and sisters take a very hard stance with the Salafiyah, extremely hard stance, and I have before. I affected a lot of people in a good way, but there's a lot of people who just genuinely don't know better. The only time that they have ever seen, the only type of Islam that they've ever seen is from the Wahhabi Salafi branch. That's the only branch, that's the only thing that they've ever seen come into Islam. So, I don't want to be too hard for that reason. And the individuals that I've even debated with on live stream, and the individuals that I've come in contact with, I don't want to be like fighting them. I want to be welcoming to them, and I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I want to get down to what, to the actual issues, and they all are rooted in belief. They all are rooted in aqidah. So I don't want to go in the realm of debate. I want to go more in the realm of discussion. So that's what this book is about. So this book is put together very real by Sheikh Rai, and he's from the African American community. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We don't get too many African Americans that's on that level of scholarship. Inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna have him on the platform very soon when my schedule and his schedule can unite. But he laid it out he laid the argument out very well. He put it piece for piece, point for point, as far as what we believe, as far as what they believe, and as far as what the correct belief is. And he uses the authentic sources from the Quran and from the Sunnah. So there's zero argument. But I must give a primer and let y'all know that the argument is not based in Quran and Sunnah. That is the 52 fake out. That's not the Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Ubaidullah, assalamu alaikum. That's not the argument. It's fluff, that's fleece. And you get a lot of brothers that like to try to sound very intelligent and very intellect. And they say, is it Quran and Sunnah? Is he following the Quran and the Sunnah? If he ain't following Quran and Sunnah, I don't want to hear it. And then when they hear that you might be a madhabi, or you might be an Ash'ari or a Maturidi, or you might be Hanbali and Aqidah, then they, oh yeah, he ain't following Quran and Sunnah. He ain't following Quran. So, well, let's open up the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't do enough of that. we get a lot of pamphlets, and then a lot of people who will read paragraphs on topics that have been abridged into 10 volumes, and we'll read a pamphlet and a paragraph inside of a pamphlet and say, oh yeah, this is Sunnah, this is the Quran, and this is the Sunnah. The Quran and the Sunnah cannot be condensed into a pamphlet, number one, and number two, into a paragraph inside of a pamphlet. So Islam is not just as simple as, is he following the Quran and Sunnah? Are we reading the Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Salaf? We opening that up. And what I mean by that is we have to look at the interpretations that were given in the golden age of Islam, not 1,000 years later in the time of Fawzan and Bin Baz and Albani. Not 1,000 years later. That is not the time of the Salaf, and they don't represent the Salaf. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings if I said that. They do not. So I'm saying that because let's take what Fawzan said. Let's take what all the three-headed monster. Let's take what Ben Baz said. Let's take what Uthaymin said, and let's take what Fawzan said, and put it up against those people who came from the time of the Salaf: Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa, and even Imam Ahmad ibn al-Hanbal. Take what they said and put it up against what those three that came 1,000 years later said, and you be the judge. I don't want to gang bang, I don't want to set trip with nobody. This ain't that. But we are welcoming everybody. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody in the comments. Sufyan al-Andalusi, what's going on? So let's take, and that's a framework that you can have inside of your Islam in totality, because you're gonna pick up all kinds of books. They came from whoever and wherever, and they're gonna be saying all types of stuff, and they're gonna put Islam and they're gonna put Quran on there. You're gonna be thinking that this is what it is, especially if you're a new shahada. I was just talking to one of my brothers this morning who is a new shahada, and we were talking about this. Brother Bashir, what's going on, Big Art? Assalamu alaikum. He said Philly up in the house, right? Ahlus-Sunnah, the Ahlus-Sunnah in Philly. We got a little bit of Ahlus-Sunnah in Philly in the house. Alhamdulillah, brother. I appreciate your unwavering support, brother. And it means a lot when the old dogs come through and support the young dogs. They put in their fights. Y'all fought them on the topic today, which is going to be the madhabs. Y'all fought them on the madhabs. Our fight is aqidah. And y'all defeated them on the madhabs because they left that argument all the way alone. So yeah, alhamdulillah, it's good to see the old dogs, supporting the new young generals, in this battle. And not to say that they're adversary, to a point they're adversaries, but certain people are adversaries. But this is mostly, these types of presentations are mostly for individuals that just don't know better. Now those people who have been shown the truth, those individuals who know all the imams, all the shuyukh, all of the ustads, this is not for them. I ain't got no holler for them guys because they know what they're doing. They smart. Them individuals are smart. They go to Saudi Arabia and bus loads and Airbus loads, and they come back. They learn Arabic. They're introduced to classical Arabic texts that come from the time of the Salaf, and they still remain on the deviant path. That is insincerity to the highest level. I don't care if it's Tawhid Wyatt or the other brother. I forget the one who taught in Medina. I keep forgetting his name. I don't care if it's him. You're wrong. You're wrong. I don't worship no man. I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And I don't follow no man. I follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam alone. So I don't care how much influence that you have. I don't care how good your Arabic is. I don't care how much Quran that you memorize. If what you believe ain't in line with the Sahaba and the Salaf, khalas, I ain't got no holler for you. Period. So that's a primer just on just recapping everybody on what this book is about. So at this point, the last part that I touched on was how the Salafiyyah / Wahhabiyyah, how they try to say that they're Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, but they're not Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I mean, if you just go to the term linguistically, Jama'ah means congregation. It means more than one. It means, three or more, according to the Shurai'i definition, is three or more. And the brother went in depth. Go back and watch that video. I don't want to waste too much time on this. I'm just giving a recap. And the brother went in depth to say, to elucidate the truth of that matter, of them saying that the Quran says that Ibrahim alayhi salam was the ummah. No, that is not the classical interpretation of that verse. When you go back to the actual time of the ashab and the actual time of the salaf and the tabi'in and all of that, when you go to the golden age, you don't find those types of interpretations. You do not. You only find that in the era 1,000 years later, in the time of Fawzan and bin Baz and Albani. You don't find that nowhere else. Not even in the time in between all of the time of the Salaf. You don't find that. So, which is what we call the era of the Khalaf, the Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So the brother expounded that is not the classical interpretation of that. The classical interpretation is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Ibrahim alayhi salam was an ummah, was that the word ummah can also be the word can also be used as imam. That's the interpretation of that verse. Even though the verse says ummah, you have to have some grasp of Arabic. And for those people who don't have a grasp of Arabic, then the scholars have done it for you. If you look at the tafsir, and all of his sources was listed inside of the book. If you look at the tafsir, the classical tafsir, you will see that that's what the interpretation of that ayah is and was and is. Going further, we're going to transition to the topic. I see some comments. Y'all don't get discouraged. I normally save like the last 15 minutes for comments, last half hour to 15 minutes for comments. So inshallah, we're going to get into it. Assalamu alaikum, Ibrahim. They can't get away from Sufyan. Yeah, you're right. We're going to lock them all the way in. Okay, so we're going to jump back into the book and tried to quote classical scholars. Yeah, man. Yeah, they will quote. That's the trick. Who said that? I can't see who it is. Who said that? Oh, Sufyan said that. Yeah. So yeah, that one of the tricks is that they'll try to quote the classical scholars. Like I read, it was like it's absurd to me that I think it's Fawzan. I think Fawzan has an interpretation of Aqidatul Tahawiyah. Now, this is evil on another level. First and foremost, Aqidatul Tahawiyah, rahimahumullah, was a book of belief that was written in particularly against deviant belief systems that rooted themselves in Islam. And there are so many points of reference in the Aqidatul Tahawiyah that go directly against what the Salafiyyah believe. But Fawzan put his name on one of the translations or what, additions. Let's call it that, addition. And I seen with my own eyes. I even did a video about it. If y'all need to see it, I'll pull it back up. I did a whole almost 2-hour video breaking that situation down. So deceptive, where Imam Tahawi, rahimahumullah, said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be contained in any of the 6 directions. It don't get no clearer than that. We don't have to go into that. That's clear cut. What they call qat'i. There's no getting around that. But that dude literally gave his own tafsir and was saying what the author really means is that a direction can possibly be up or down or sideways, but Allah is not in the up, down, or sideways, but he's really here, but he's really not there. Just started explaining away the actual matan, the actual hukum in the book. Now, if you If that is not clear to you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has covered your basira. You have no spiritual insight whatsoever. And there's a khatam on your heart. If you read that, when Imam Tahawi, who is an accepted imam, even by the Wahhabis, he's an accepted imam, said clearly Allah is not contained in a place, but all of the Salafis are going around talking about Allah is up. And Fawzan, Uthaymin, Bin Baz, and Al-Albani all put together everything that they ever did, don't even come close to the likes of the scholar that Imam Tahawi was. I'm not taking all 3 and 4 of them against Imam Tahawi. I'm not. Imam Tahawi produced his own Aqidah book. Them dudes don't even have enough firepower for them to produce their own fiqh and Aqidah book. They use everybody else's stuff and then put their name on it and then put a remix in it. That ain't a scholar. A brother, may Allah guide him, asked me the other day, do you believe that Fawzan is the scholar of all scholars? What? I believe Fawzan is an individual who is badly in need of guidance. And sadly, he's dead now, so I hope he didn't die on the stuff that we arguing about. It's clear as day. If it says in a book by a scholar who is agreed upon by each and every single righteous person since he lived in his time period and afterwards, that's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our scholars are the inheritors of the Anbiya, of the prophets. You can't get around our scholars. How are you going to go against the scholars when the Prophet ﷺ said that those are his inheritors? Period. Then we got to go and argue with those guys and gals what a scholar is, because they don't know. They think that Bin Baz and Al-Albani and all them are scholars. They are not. They were prominent historical figures for the wrong reasons. The rant is over, so we will get into the book. Inshallah. And Bashir said, I got an old deviant book, 35 years old, from the Saudi Arabia. So I keep teaching them the truth. Inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah. Okay, so we're gonna go on the book. This is page 15. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The madhabs, the schools of Ahlus-Sunnah. Question: what is the correct position concerning following a school? Concerning the practical rules or fiqh, Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah follows the 4 madhabs, the schools of Islamic law, in obedience to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, without disputing the validity of any of them, despite their differences. Those schools agree about the fundamental beliefs and the fundamental rules, and they differ about some of the details of the rules, like if reciting the Fatiha is obligatory on the follower in the prayer, or if the imam's recitation is enough for the follower, or if one must make the intention at night to fast for the following day, or if it is enough to make the intention on the first night for the entire month, etc. Important. In the past, there were other valid schools like those of Al-Awza'i, Al-Layth, and the 2 Sufyans and other mujtahidun, rahmatullahi alayhim. However, only these 4 remain. The followers of the schools took great care. The followers of the school took great care to document their schools and pass them down to the following generations. The largest of the 4 schools is the Hanafi school, the followers of the way of the great Persian Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahumullah. Imam Malik was his contemporary and the greatest scholar in the city of Al-Madinah at his time. His way, the Maliki school, is the most widely spread in Africa except Eastern Africa. Imam Shafi'i, the scholar of Quraysh, was Malik's greatest student. His way, the Shafi'i school, is the most common in the Levant, as well as Indonesia and Malaysia, but many Syrians are Hanafi. As for the Hanbali school, the followers of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, it is the smallest of the four because of the Mushabbiha, the likeners, attributed themselves to that school, defamed it, and repelled people from it. In fact, likeners were so famously preferred the Hanbali school that in some scholarly works they referred to the likeners as the Hanabila or the Hanbalis. This is only due to those rotten apples spoiling it for others, and it is exactly like people today wrongly referring to the Wahhabis as Salafis. Kalla. Just like he's saying they all the same. Just as the likeners, the Mushabbiha, should not be called Hanbalis or Hanabila, the Wahhabis should not be called Salafis, for this is a heinous misinterpretation. Let me sidebar that for us. Quick moment. There are some I think we gotta take a middle course with that. That last statement. The Wahhabis do hide under the Hanbali madhab. The Salafis, the educated amongst them, do hide up under the Hanbali madhab. They take quotes from Ahmad ibn al-Hanbal and other illustrious Hanbali scholars, and they twist it. They even wrote books that twisted it. Let me say this, because there's an argument, and it's a legitimate argument. And I'm not a scholar. I say what the scholars say, and I follow what the scholars say follow. And you can go you can go over here, you can go over there. It's your choice. We have some legit scholars that have defamed some big imams in the Hanbali school. That defamed like big imams, and that is not for us to get into. If you're interested in the debate, and vice versa, you got some Hanbali scholars that have defamed some Shafi'is, some big Shafi'is. It's literally a scholarly fight. It's two juggernauts. It's Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali. You can say Mike Tyson is the greatest. You can say Muhammad Ali is the greatest. Rahimahullah, hafidhahumullah. You can go either way with it. I like to try to stay away from pushing people out of Islam. That's a very stinky thing that the Salafis like to do. So I don't want to get involved in takfir, and I don't get involved with. I don't play with takfir because that's my everything. All I have is Islam. And if you get to the point where you are, by name saying people are not Muslim, I just ain't gonna play that game. I don't have to. I'm just gonna tell you what I think and how I feel, and may Allah guide me and may Allah guide all of us. That's as far as I'm gonna go with it, me personally. And that's the position of all of my shuyukh. Sheikh Rami and Sood, I've asked him, I grilled him about this. Sheikh Ayub Muhammad Hansbai, rahimahumullah, I grilled him about it. And my current closest Sheikh Ismail Cartier, I grilled him about it. They all take middle courses, and they all have students that are Salafis, that are Wahhabis, that are Hanbalis. They all have friends that are Salafis and the Wahhabis, and so on and so forth. So, it can get real sticky. It can get real sticky. And it's a scholarly argument why that is said. And the brother Sheikh Rai, he's one of the brothers that's way over here with it. He, like anybody who said X, Y, and Z, you out of Islam. And it's certain individuals that said X, Y, and Z, which to their criteria, brother, you walked out of Islam. I ain't going that far. What my shuyukh said and what I recommend is that if anybody believes X, Y, and Z, then they need to repent. That's not Islam. Perhaps they left Islam with that statement because the rule is you cannot leave Islam except by what brought you in it, which is the Shahadatain, saying, you made a declaration of faith. Hold on one second, y'all. Sorry, kids are screaming. It was distracting me. Um, um, so I don't go that far with it. We have what's listed that that is the belief of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and the people who believe that, you're Muslim. The people who don't, you're not Muslim. I ain't putting no names on nothing. And secondly, the Hanabila get a bad rap. Some people, like when I was in a gang, and not likening our scholars to gang, but just it's human nature. It's the mentality of human nature. Like when whatever you come up under, you're gonna inherit the good and the bad. Not saying that is their position is bad, but the beef. Some of our scholars, came up under certain scholars and in certain schools, and this is what was drilled into them, and they coming like how they were taught. That's it. And they haven't really spent too much time outside of how they were brought up in knowledge. So they stick with that. Like, for example, Sheikh Saeed Fawda, he is, all the Wahhabis are scared of him. he don't play no games, and he don't care for Ibn Taymiyyah a lot. And he said he has some very strong statements against Ibn Taymiyyah. And if Ibn Taymiyyah says certain things, then it was questionable. But I will not go as far as to say he was not a Muslim or whatnot. The debate is with the Hanabila. They get a bad rap because Imam Ahmad, rahimahumullah, and I had to go through hell to figure this out. I was in the middle of fire from both sides at one point in time in my life recently, and I was getting it from both sides. Like, oh, well, he said this, so that's kufr. He said that's kufr. I'm like, what in the world? So Imam Ahmad was famous for, like, when the Aqidah wars began, really, he didn't even give them time of the day. That's what I got out of the study. It didn't even go as far as this point and this was said and that was said and this ayat and this hadith. Imam Ahmad was like, fool, get out my face. I'm holding a class. We not, go excuse yourself. Go over there with the Mu'tazila and go talk to them about that stuff. I'm not talking to you about it. And they would confront him with stuff like, where is Allah? And he'll say stuff like, Allah is where he said he is. He would just repeat what the Quran said and what the hadith said. And a lot of, you can't put that on Imam Ahmad, but his followers picked that up. That's their mentality all the way up until this day. And that right there, just repeating, like if somebody says, where's Allah? Let me be careful what I say. So if somebody asks you, where's Allah? Somebody and somebody will say, ala al-arsh. It's on the Arsh. That's it. Don't go into that. Don't go into it. Don't open it up. Ain't nobody going, ain't nobody, the conversation should not even start. Is it actual? Is he sitting? Is he standing? Is he laying on it? This is, now that right there is kufr. When you hear those statements, when you read those statements, and then you start picking at it and going into it and trying to figure it out, that's kufr. That is an act of kufr. Don't do it. Our scholars didn't do it. It was a non-issue. Imam Ahmad did not do it. It was a non-issue, non-factor. We're not talking about if he's sitting, if he's standing, if he's laying on it, if he's na'udhu billah, if he's got his feet propped up on it. Oh, na'udhu billah. We're not doing that. So Imam Ahmad wouldn't give the conversation time of day. So the Salafis run off with that. Oh, Imam Ahmad said Allah Ta'ala was on the outer, so he's actually sitting on the outer. Na'udhu billah. Come on, we're talking about Imam Ahmad. Come on. The highest that it can possibly get as a scholar. He would never make that mistake. That's what a mushabbih is. A person that likens Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to something. And so some of the Shafi'iyya say that at one point in time, in the room, y'all. I love you too. Some of the Shafi'iyya, so they were like on the forefront of the quote unquote beef, because the Malikis were like kind of weak around the time of the rise of Imam Ahmad. They were not. They were never weak. They just were not as strong in those regions where Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi'i, ruled over intellectually. So, we believed, like, and on that other part of the spectrum, we believe that you could take it as far as to say Allah Ta'ala said that he was on the Arsh, but he's not actually on the Arsh. And a lot of the Hanabila was like, that's kufr. Don't do that. So is it kufr? We got evidence that it's not. We have statements that came from the Sahaba and statements that come from the Salaf that, they open it up a little bit, but they only take it that far. But the Hanabila, like, nah, we ain't doing none of that. And some of the hard, way far right Hanabila is like, okay, that's kufr. You did kufr. And vice versa. The Shafi'iyya is like, you just said that. Yeah, I'm asking you, like, what do you mean by that? Then you keep telling me Allah is on the Arsh. So you're inferring that Allah Ta'ala is actually on the Arsh. So it got extreme on that other side, and some of the Shafi'iyya just kind of inherited that beef, and they say things like the mushabbihah from the Hanabila. That's what the argument is. Yeah. If you're not standing on one side or the other of the argument, and you're standing in the middle or outside that argument, that's what you're gonna see. But we have some high up people then and now that's on one side or the other of that argument. So you know how it is when you fighting, you in it. You ain't trying to hear what the next person's saying. Your things is out. You're not trying to hear it. The Malikis don't have none of that problem. We got both, confirming what was confirming those obscure ayats in the nature of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sifat. We have confirming it by just saying it, and we have opening it up a little bit for interpretation, but a proper interpretation. The Malikis have both. So I advise, if that's an issue for y'all, this just be Maliki. Going further, I had to sidebar that because it's I read that part in the book, and I don't want nobody to think that I've taken one side or not. I'm a Maliki. I don't got no dog in none of that fight. We got Imam Malik giving, actual statements, and we have Imam Malik and other Maliki scholars opening it up for proper interpretation. We have both in our school. We don't go one way or another. And as far as I understand, the roots of the Shafi'i school was just confirm it for what it is and don't go into it. But now, there's a khalaf period of the Shafi'iyah where, that kind of have, like with the kind, not with Sheikh Sa'id Fawda, but, people like him and people who came before him who was like him. There wasn't a long era like with the Tajuddins. Both of them, their school was basically, and their fatwa was basically, is so much kufr and so much tashbih, likening Allah to creation is so much that now it's mandatory that we open it up and correct it for what it is. That's the beef. So back into the book, inshallah. And then we're going to open it up for questions here in about 5-6 minutes. Okay. Question number 8. What if a Wahhabi claims that following a school is innovation or shirk? This is a good one. This is a big one. Focus in on this point, y'all. Here to further clarify that Ahlus-Sunnah are not deviant in their practice of religion, let us prove the validity of following madhabs, because this issue is one of the deviancies of the Wahhabis. They say that following the schools is an innovation. Some of them even went as far as to say that it is shirk. He gave a reference. Okay. Like one named Muhammad Siddiq Hassan al-Kinwaji. Kinwaji. I haven't heard of this guy. Who died in Islamic year 1253. In their claim, the evidence from the Quran that following schools is shirk is the saying of Allah. Please pay attention to this, because so many Muslims who were at one point in their Islam, they were not so knowledgeable. They were told this and they held on to it all the way up until, this day, 10 years after them not being so knowledgeable, and took this in as knowledge, and they use it against the actual people of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. اتخذوا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أسبابا من دون الله. They took their rabbis and monks as lords instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is chapter 9, ayah 31. So the Wahhabis, Salafi Wahhabis, use that ayah to say that it is shirk to follow a madhab. They say, check the books of tafsir and see that this verse dispraises the Jews and Christians for taking their rabbis, monks, priests, and scholars and as guides besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that the way they did so was by obeying them in what they deemed lawful and unlawful. They say this verse is applicable to you followers of the madhabs because you are obeying the imams and what they deem lawful or unlawful. So you have worshiped them as the Jews and Christians worship, and their monks, and as the Jews and Christians worship their monks and rabbis. Excuse me. Quick sidebar before we read his answer, his response. We are not, just because I say I'm Maliki, I'm Shafi, I'm Hanbali, or whatnot, we are not, nor do we follow what Malik said. Because I heard one of my shuyukh, Sheikh Ismail, I heard him talking to somebody. I can't remember the exact instance, but it stuck out to me when he said it. Somebody referenced something like this to him, and I think it was in regards to Sadl, like praying with your hands to the side, and Sheikh Ismail like calmly responded to the person and said, Imam Malik learned from Umar's son, and Umar's son saw Umar praying. So you don't think Malik knew how to pray? Y'all play with that. I ain't even gonna go into that. If that went over your head, you need to do a little bit more studying. So basically, I said that to say, how can those guys who were the leaders of the leaders in their time period say or do something? What's the likelihood of them saying or doing something that was outside of what Rasulullah SAW said or did? What's the likelihood of that? Come on, let's just use good human logic and common sense. The likelihood of that is not going to happen. Prophet Islam said that his ummah will not agree on dalala, on misguidance. And Imam Malik had ijazah from over 900 scholars in Medina, not from somewhere else. We talking about Medina to Munawwara, where all of these people were the inheritors of Islam. There would not be Islam had there not be a cradle of Islam in Medina. We're talking about the people who were born 1 and 2 generations after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like you had Magic, then you had Jordan, then you had Kobe, now you have LeBron. This is what we're talking about. LeBron is so superb at what he does, and you will always hear him reference Jordan, reference Kobe. You heard Kobe reference Jordan. You heard Jordan reference himself. I'm playing. I'm a Jordan head. But, Jordan sidebarring again, didn't really reference. Jordan would just say, well, I think Magic was tough. That was Jordan's reference. So unofficially, I'm going to say you would hear Jordan reference Magic. But Jordan wanted to smoke with Magic. But this is what I'm talking about. It's the same forms of human logic. We're talking about the leaders of the leaders. What is the odds that the leaders chose Imam Malik, go teach the people, go lead the salah? The man prayed with his hands down, and he said, and he didn't say Bismillah as soon as he says when he opened up for Fatiha. He didn't. Do you think he made that up? What's the likelihood of all of the people of Medina saying that he is the person who Rasulullah SAW was referring to when he said the scholar of Medina? And before him, there was no the scholar of Medina. Nobody referenced that. And then after him, 1,200 years past his time, and nobody's ever has called. Even Bin Baz lived there. Fawzan lived there. Ibn Abdul Wahab, they all lived in the Hijaz. Nobody referred to none of them dudes as the scholar of Medina, who was somebody spoken about by the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Play with that. Going forward, the answer. Their worship of their monks and rabbis was because they believed that they had the right to deem things lawful and unlawful for themselves. The Muslims do not believe that about the imams, that they have the right to make what's lawful and unlawful for themselves. Rather, our belief about them is that they are scholars who are qualified to extract judgments directly from the Quran and the Sunnah. If they are correct in what they have ruled, they get 2 rewards. If they are mistaken, they get a single reward, as it came in the hadith. If the qualified ruler, Khalif, the judge, makes ijtihad and he is correct, he has, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I do not have the sanad, it's not listed here, but he did give the reference. Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If the qualified ruler, Khalif, judge, makes ijtihad and is correct, he has 2 rewards. If he makes it and is mistaken, he has 1 reward. It didn't say that he was a deviant. That's not what the hadith said. The hadith said that if he is correct, he has 2 rewards. If he was incorrect, he has 1 reward. What do we take out of this hadith? Two things. Number one, first and foremost, ijtihad. A person has to be a mujtahid. Yeah. That word is in the hadith too. I never knew that. We just learned something together, real time. The actual words is in the hadith. إذا اجتهد, ijtihad. If and when. If and when. Ijtihad. And it's in the Arabic verb form of an action that this is going to happen and it's going to be done. So number one, that legitimizes mujtahidun, people who will reach that highest level of scholarship, and it legitimizes them giving ijtihad. First thing, sorry, no, not the first thing, but well, let's just say that's the third thing. We all just learned that real time. So the first thing is that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to know what's right and what's wrong. What does that tell you? That they are not making up things. The Fu'a'ima are not making stuff up. You only have ijtihad if there's nothing in the Quran and the Sunnah. If there's something in the Quran and there's something in the Sunnah, it's clear. Nobody talking about that. But we talking about stuff like breast implants and BBLs and prosthetic fingernails and all this stuff, new stuff. They didn't give ijtihad on that, but there was matters that came that were not spoken about in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and it would take an expert at the highest level of understanding the Quran and the Sunnah that could liken these new situations to things that were spoke on in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So when the Salafi say, follow Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Prophet, that's impossible. Prophet ﷺ didn't drive a car. He rode camels. Do you ride a camel? No, you don't ride a camel. So what's the ijtihad on driving a car? You got to have experts that understand the Quran and the Sunnah at that level that would be able to give a ruling. So that's first. Second, it's impossible that they would be wrong. So if they're not wrong, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said they're going to get one reward. If they were correct, if the ijtihad was correct with Allah, not you, Fawzan, not you, Uthaymin, not you, Bin Baz, not you, Al-Albani, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those are his mujtahidun, not yours. He said if they are correct, then they get double reward. If they're not correct, they still gonna get one reward. So if you follow it, you're gonna get a double reward. If you follow it, you're gonna get one reward. It's simple. It's only simple if we could jump out of the pamphlets and we can actually get to the Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Salaf. I'm going to ask them what they ask us all the time. Don't tell me what Imam Abu Hanifa said. Tell me what the Prophet said. Well, don't tell me what Fawzan said. Tell me what the Prophet said. Don't tell me what Imam Malik said. Tell me what Abu Bakr said. Was Abu Bakr a Maliki? I love when they say that. Was Abu Bakr a Maliki? Abu Bakr wasn't a Salafi for sure. Abu Bakr was not a Salafi for sure. He was not a Wahhabi for sure. Absolutely, positively. What I'm on, it was closer to Abu Bakr than what you on, sir. For sure. Did Abu Bakr do what Ibn Abdul Wahhab did? No way, no how. Not at all. Not even close. So we have evidence from the Quran and from the Sunnah. We gotta close it up. We got Quran. We got evidence from the Quran and from the Sunnah that goes against them, and them trying to use that ayah against you. So and this goes a little bit further, but You cannot, it is haram for you to hold tight to an interpretation of the Quran when the tafsir or the sunnah contradicts it. They have to go together. And they have to have some, what they call ta'arud. You have to have some, it has to be smooth and worked out. So your belief system about a particular ayat can't go against what is established in the Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Salaf. That's a hard, straight hadith right there. You can't get around it. You got problems with your heart if you still hold on to that belief that following the madhab is shirk, or following one of the imams is dalala, and you must jump over the imams and go to the companions, which is illogical. It is illogical. I've been saying it from day one. If any of them ever touch an actual hadith book, you're doing shirk, brother. Sister, don't ever touch Bukhari, don't ever touch Muslim, don't touch Tirmidhi, don't touch Ahmad, don't touch Abu Dawood, don't touch none of the hadith books. Ahlus-Sunnah, don't touch none of them. You go to the Rawi that exists right now, that has the sanad that goes all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ, and you start getting hadiths from them, and then you give them to us. You can't use those books, Mr. and Mrs. Salafi. You can't use those books because every last one of them follow the madhab. Bukhari follow the madhab. Muslim follow the madhab. Imam Ahmad invented a madhab. Abu Dawood followed the madhab. Tirmidhi followed the madhab. Where you want to go with it? Each and every single hadith book, when they try to tell you, I don't want to see the muwatta. I don't want to see that. Show me, don't show me the reliance of a traveler. I don't want to hear what Shafi'i said, man. What the hadith say? Imam Nawawi, he was a Shafi'i, followed the madhab. So you telling us that following the madhab is shirk and that is wrong, and that you got to go to the hadith, you got to go straight to the hadith, brother. You got to go to the hadith, sister. Read the Quran, sister. Even the Quran was brought to us by the people of the madhabs. It's impossible. You'll never get straight to the Sahaba. You'd never. You got to go through the chain of command. And the chain of command, those 4 imams are in them chains. You got to go through them. You got to go see them folks for sure. It's illogical. If in 2000, what year is this? 23. If in 2023, folks are still walking around talking about follow Quran and the Sunnah, follow the Quran and Sunnah according to the way of the Sahaba, with all this information out here, this stuff is free. It is simple. I keep telling you, I had to sit in a jail cell the size of a chicken box, and I had to have volume 1 of Sahih Bukhari and volume 2 and 3. I don't know where is that. So I just started reading volume 4. And then 3 years later, I went to another joint. Then I found volume 2. And then I found at another joint, volume 3. And then I had to remember what I read in volume 1 and volume 4. And then at the end of my bit, we ended up having books. I was at a place where they had books. They had 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm like, man, I did 9 years in prison, and I never had the hadith books all at once. Now, at the end of 9 years, all the books is together. Y'all can just Google and Safari like that quick. You ain't got to go 9 years and argue with your seller. You talk about, what are you doing this mumbo jumbo stuff? Why are you saying this stuff? Y'all ain't even got to do that. It's simple. That's my point. It's simple. That's it. It ain't like sophisticated like how people like to try to make it. It's not. So inshallah ta'ala, we're going to stop there. And we'll go further, inshallah ta'ala, next week. Let me get into some of the comments. The dinner is not ready yet, so I got a little bit of time. Hey, how about how long is dinner, man? Okay. We got about 15 minutes. Fool around a little bit. Alaikum salam rahmatullahi to everybody. Hey, quit. Who did that? لا يجوز خلاف الشافعي حتى ترى لماذا قال الشافعي ما قال. خلاف الشافعي حتى ترى لماذا قال الشافعي. I don't know what that means. I know it's saying something about Imam Shafi'i. It is not permitted to differ with Imam Shafi'i. حتى ترى, until somebody sees لماذا قال الشافعي, and somebody sees what Shafi'i said, and whatever he said. I think I translated that correct. Somebody correct me if I translated. Somebody let me know. Sufyan, you put that hadith in Arabic. Did I translate that correctly? Nobody ever. Nawawi, Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi, said that it's not permissible to differ with Imam Shafi'i. حتى ترى لماذا, until he saw لماذا قال الشافعي قال الشافعي, until he saw what Shafi'i said. Am I right, Sufyan? Let me know if I translate that right. Assalamu alaikum, Levon. What's going on, brother? Y'all please like, share this, and if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Show some love to young African American scholarship. I gotta press that point, because the scholarship is missing in the African American community, and this is the reason why Wahhabiyya and Salafiyyah has spread, is because we do not have African American scholarship as present as we do, and and it's a problem. Even though it's not a problem in like the Arab and the Pakistani communities that are here in America, it's not a problem. It's not seemingly a problem with them, but this is why I tell my Arab and Pakistani brothers and sisters, as Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, the ummah is like bricks in a house. Or let's use this hadith. Rasulullah said, like, the ummah is a body. If one part of the body is hurting, then the whole entire body is hurting. So the African American Muslim community is like predominantly Wahhabi, and the Wahhabis have succeeded in like literally chiseling out a whole section of the country better than any Muslims in America, better than the Pakistanis in California. They got a lot of them there. Better than the Arab Shia in Dearborn, Michigan. Better. Like the Wahhabis in Philly, man. Listen, I'll be so jealous when I see Eid and they filling up parks. Like my friends on Facebook, they got different parks, at least 5 different public parks that they take over. One second here. They have parks that they fill up, and even now high school football stadiums that they fill up on Eid. Like the buildings won't contain the people, and all of them are Wahhabi. So how much strength in our ummah as a totality are we missing? All of the benefits and the strengths that are brought into the Muslim community as a whole by the African Americans, how much is missing out of the whole picture? How much strength and resources are missing. How much? And if nothing else, what people don't understand, everybody loves their own people. Everybody does. Everybody does. The vast majority of people are like attracted to their own people. It ain't racist. It's just human nature. My mother is an African American woman. That's all I know to be a woman. My aunties are African American. My cousins, my friends and family that live in my neighborhoods that I grew up in, I've only seen African Americans, and that's my culture. Same difference with Pakistanis, Arabs. It's the same thing. Even like in some parts of the Arab, like certain tribes won't marry certain other tribes. Whatever. They got worldly and dunya reasons and whatnot, but for the most part, it's just like human nature. You know what I mean? Like it's human nature. You know what I'm saying? I said that to say, when we go to marry, we don't have much of an option. What do we have as an option to marry? Wahhabi women, Salafi women. What we gonna be doing? Debating and arguing and fighting in our household about which direction we gonna pray? Are your arms gonna stay like this? Are they gonna stay like that? Like what? Like, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the man is the leader. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about when my wife first got married. Not to blast her, but it's just it's an honor. This is a badge of honor. She gonna get mad at me, but this is a badge of honor. She didn't know any better. She came into Islam through the lens of being a Wahhabi. And the first time after we got married, we went to pray together. I make takbir. I didn't say the dua, and I went straight to Fatiha, and I've dropped my arms to the side. Her and her son was there. They were both friends. Like they packed it up. And left. They left the salah. She like, man, I got this deviant Ash'ari. But now she's Maliki. It led to some very good conversations, very, very good conversations. But a lot of people not gonna survive this stuff. Like I get inboxes and she gets calls from sisters from all over the country, and this is an issue. Brothers is being tyrants in their marriages because they're not following the fiqh. They following this, this. We already know what they got going on in Philly. They got boyfriends, girlfriends, all stuff. They doing that stuff, and it's because they're not following the fiqh. They're not following the proper aqidah. If you was like that, it wouldn't be it. Like you just a fasik if you know the proper aqidah and you know the proper fiqh and you don't do it, or you're not making some type of effort. The stuff ain't even hard. You can make an effort and then still be successful at some level. But if you ain't doing it at all, you will not have success. So it's an issue. We touching on it, and we touching and feeling on it because that's what's going on in this part of the Islamic body. Now, I even had a brother say to me, like, man, why you always talk about the Wahhabis? And you're like, we dealt with that a long time ago. Yeah, y'all did. We didn't. When I want to go to a masjid, the only two masjids, if I'm visiting friends, I don't have a lot of friends in like nice neighborhoods and stuff around America. I got friends that live in the hood around America, just like me, where I'm from. When I'm visiting my friends out of town or even in my city, the only two type of masajids and where I'm moving around and where I'm local at is the Nation of Islam, the War of W.D. Muhammad, or Wahhabis. That's it. We don't have any masajid at Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We don't. This is a problem. It's a problem. So now y'all got to watch me for an hour because we have this problem. I see you, but I see you come on confused. We just talked a bit about this last night on Clubhouse. What was that? Sister Taliba of Bahira, formerly known as Bahira. So alaikum. Now they say they just talked about this on Club. Hey, Sister Nunu, what's happening? Assalamu alaikum. Arizona Almada. Assalamu alaikum. Miho. Assalamu alaikum, other sister Nyla. Nyla Hadiyah. Assalamu alaikum. Ibrahim said, does the book you're reading from have the origin of the Saudi state and formation of the Najdis? No, but you should give a class on it, Brother Ibrahim. You should give a class. You should do a class on the platform about that. For sure. The origins of Saudi. I call it Arab. I don't like calling it Saudi. It is not theirs. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger. But yes, the origins of Saudi and the formation of Najd and the Najdiyah. Yeah, you should give it up, brother. Give it up. Chifiana Andalusi said Albani has a book where he says he's correcting the mistakes in Tawi. I don't believe you, brother. I ain't saying you're lying. I just say, that's hard to believe. I don't believe that. No way, no how. No way, no how. Assalamu alaikum, brother Suleiman Abdul Kareem. Marsh, what up, fo? What that fo like, Marsh? They're more Dhahri in principle than they are Hanabila. Yeah, I assume you were saying that while I was going into the beef with the Hanabila and the Shafi'iyya. Yeah, it's right. The Dhahri. We touched on that before. I hope that term doesn't confuse anybody. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Malika. Right, Islam is all I have. Islam is all we all have. For sure. It's not showing your face on my thing, but that's Sister Malika's comment. Nyla said, what do you say to someone who says, I'm not nothing, I'm just a Muslim? Very common statement that's made, and it's impossible to be true. And I always tell people this, like when anybody say, I don't follow nothing, I'm just a Muslim. What, are you not praying? Are you not paying zakah? Are you not fasting during Ramadan? If you ever went to Arab, to Medina, and to Mecca, have you made Hajj? You can't be practicing Islam and just say, I'm nothing, I'm just a Muslim. That's impossible. That's literally impossible. You ain't practicing Islam if you're just a Muslim and you don't follow nothing. Because every single book that has been written about prayer has a madhab stamp on it. Every book about zakat, madhab stamp on it. Every book about aqidah, madhab stamp on it. You can't get around it. Now, some people I'm just going to call it for what it is. They just lazy. I have a lot of friends, Muslim friends, that say that, I ain't Muslim, I ain't Shafi, I ain't Wahhabi, I ain't Salafi, I ain't nothing. I'm just a Muslim. I got friends that say that, and I don't give my friends passes. So I'm getting ready to say this. They just lazy. You are just lazy. Read, and you will find out. If you praying and it says put your hands like this, you reading the Shafi, Hanbali, or Hanafi book. If you reading and you learning how to pray and it says do takbir, tahrima, and you put your hands down to the side, you following a Maliki book. Ain't no other two ways to put your hands. And those are all positions of madhabs. If you're saying the dua before Fatiha, you Shafi'i or you Hanafi. I don't know if the Hanbalis do it or not. If you don't, you Maliki. The only opinions that exist are in reference to practicing your everyday Islam, all have a stamp on it. If you're doing such a tasahhud, if you salam out once because you added something, you're Maliki. If you do either salam out or don't salam out at all, then you're Hanafi. And I believe the Shafi'i do the same thing for such a tasahhud. So It's impossible that you're not following nothing. You just don't know that you're following nothing. Everybody got a kitab of salat. Everybody got a book of salat. And in the book of salat, they don't like trying to, if you reading that, then that means you're a beginner or you at a beginner level. Those books don't have Imam Malik said and Imam Shafi'i according to this scholar and this. They don't say that. They say this is what you do, this is what you don't do, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. That's what they say. But you don't know it. You're following a madhab for sure. Another question said, what do you say to a person that says if all the schools are correct, then why would I go around claiming just one school? Very, very, very good question, because you hear this a lot with the Salafis and the Wahhabis. They say that all of them are correct and they're going to cherry pick from every madhab. This is impossible. Now, you can cherry pick all of the rulings, but those scholars, the four Aima, all were famous for saying, don't practice our rulings unless you know where or how we came to these rulings. This is all part of what you're supposed to be doing, because you need to understand. You have to, one of the rules is that in your acts of worship, in your iman and your acts of worship, you have to have yaqeen. You have to have certainty about it. You can't have any doubt about it. So when you're doing one thing or another, and you ain't got to know all of the proofs all at once, but you got to be on that path of learning all of the proofs for what you're doing, why you're doing it, when you're doing it, how you're doing it, and where it came from. You have to. So with that being said, if you start learning the pathways to how you practice, those methods are different. This is called usul. It's the method about how a ruling was reached. So this ain't a usul class. I'm not that versed in usul, so I ain't finna go that deep into it. But there's a method about how Imam Malik came to the conclusion that you do takbir tahrima and you put your hands to the side. There's a method. There is a method that we came to that. For example, this was for Imam Malik. One of the tools of coming to a conclusion about an obscure matter was to use the practice of the people of Medina. For Imam Malik, rahimahumullah, the practice of the people of Medina in his time and before it, well, in his time, definitely before his time, that's a no-brainer, but in his time, that was a proof. That was the same vehicle of a mutawatir hadith. I'm going way far, I think, past where we need to be. But that method is not practiced in any of the other madahib. So you can't, you will be at a surface level of understanding forever if you one of those people that say, oh, I like all the madhabs, they all correct, so I'm gonna do this over here for Shafi'i and Maliki over here and Hanbali and Hanafi over here. You're gonna be confused. And even the scholar said that when you learn in your deen and you learn why and what you're supposed to do, and then you start trying to practice what you're supposed to be doing. If you try to gel together all of the different fiqh, you'll never come to the conclusion of worship. Because, for example, Imam Abu Hanifa says that touching a woman does not break your wudu. Imam Shafi'i says touching a woman breaks your wudu. So if you're trying to take both of them, you will never make wudu. And if you never make wudu, you will never make salah. You can't pick both of them. You can strive to understand it, but you got to take a side. And when you take that side, that's the only way that you'll become prolific. That's like saying you're going to go to Jordan camp, Kobe camp, and LeBron camp all at the same time. They are all elite, immaculate players, all different types, different styles, and they all were completely effective and unstoppable at their styles at that level. Same different with the Mujtahidun. You can, you can definitely fill in the blanks, but you can't just cherry pick over here and over here and over here and over here. You will never gain true understanding because it takes time, a lot of time, to try to understand and develop usul and then practice. It takes a lot of time. I've been wrestling with the first book of usul for almost 2 years now. 2 years. As soon as I'm done with it, it's gonna be on the platform too. There's a beginner's book of usul in the Maliki madhab. I've been struggling with this book and struggling to understand it for 2 years. And I think I will be on my third time reading the book before I feel actually comfortable with it. How in the world? And it's a beginner's book. It's literally a beginner's book. It's probably like 100 lines, 150 lines. I don't know how many. And they got books that have thousands of lines in them. How can you do that? You can't do that. I ain't even finished with that. How can I go off into the Shafi'i usul books and I ain't even done with this book? And it's hard. And this beginner's book is hard. Just a few lines is hard. Then you want to jump over here. You ain't never going to do it. You're going to be like that person. You're going to be like that farmer that throws seeds everywhere and you don't water none of them. You might water some of them, this one over here, then that plant might start growing, then you stop watering and you water this one over here, and then that one grows like this much, but this one over here is grows this much, then you plant another seed, and then this was over here, and then that one grows to be this much. You're going to be all over the place. So scholars say don't do it for that reason. Midi Blizzard, what up, man? Kim Queen Dawson. If you're Muslim, salam alaikum. Sufyan al-Andalusi says Sufyan ibn Uyayna, rahmatullah alayh, did say they referred to Ibn Musayyib, rahimahumullah, or Ibn Hurmuz before Malik came, but after he came, everyone agreed that the hadith. Oh, okay, yeah. So there were those are three of Imam Malik's teachers. Thank you for that correction, Habibi. I correct myself. Sufyan al-Andalusi corrected me. He said that three of Imam Malik's teachers came, and this is even more proof for Imam Malik that Sufyan ibn Uyayna, rahimahullah, that hadith was referenced to him. Sa'id ibn Musayyib, rahimahullah, and Ibn Hurmuz. Those are all three of Imam Malik's teachers. They said that the scholar of Medina was referred to all three of them. But after Malik, who was their student, after Malik came, they all said that it was him. That's even more proof. Thank you for that correction, brother. You should have to ask question. Remember, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Yeah, absolutely. Uh-oh. Change the colors to 845. I didn't know he was doing this thing. Okay, so let me stop because the ladies group, which is run by my wife. It's not that is run by my wife. I think they doing their thing now, and I'm late for all types of stuff. A lot of comments. Sorry if I missed anybody, y'all. Many Blood said, "You amaze me, man. My little brother. Tell them I wish I could tell the unbelievers the way that you do. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, one day you will." That's my partner in crime, literally, y'all. Alhamdulillah. Funny story. I went to prison, and we was in the same gang together, committed crimes together, allegedly, and all that. And I left. I left and went and did 10 years in prison, came home Muslim. And during that 10 years, he was home the whole entire time. He became Muslim as well. And the first time that I saw him was when I was going to Jum'ah. When I came home, alhamdulillah. The brother, Sufyan, but you hitting it on the head, Sufyan. He gave us the translation of that quote he put up in Arabic. He says, "It's not permitted to differ with the Imam Shafi'i until one sees why he says what he says." Exactly. Right, exactly. Jazakumullah khairan, Sufyan. That's in reference to the one who's following Shafi'i school. Yeah, I mean that's overall. And it's an Almare said, "I'm from Argentina." Alhamdulillah, Ahlus-Sunnah and Argentina. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Okay, y'all go Saleh. What's going on? Also, it's not. We saw him. He said also, it's no such thing as the strongest opinion. If anyone says this, then they are pushing their opinion. Sahih is Sahih. Okay, baby's crying. Got to go. All right, I love y'all for the sake of Allah. If I said anything wrong, does not belong to Allah, does not belong to the scholars, does not belong to the Sahaba or the Prophet ﷺ. We will be back Wednesday, inshallah ta'ala, with Aqidah. Aqidah Salafiyyah. What's up, boo? You hungry? You hungry? Inshallah ta'ala, we'll be back every day. It'll be at 7:30. Inshallah ta'ala. Say salam alaikum. She hungry, she mad. Say salam alaikum. We'll be back Wednesday with Aqidah Salafiyyah, the belief of the Muslims, at 7:30, inshallah ta'ala. I love y'all for the sake of Allah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولا إله إلا الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.